Capital Combat. The name says it all. I'm Hakeem
Rob,
and today we're going to recap this past Saturday's welterweight title fight between Errol Spence and Lamont Peterson. We're also going to briefly touch on the lightweight title fight between Robert Easter and Javier Fortuna. Those are the two fights that we talked about in the preview video. So we're going to get right into it and start recapping what we saw this past Saturday. Take it away, Rob.
Okay, so starting with the lightweight championship fight between Javier Fortuna and Robert Easter Jr. The champ, I believe he has the IBF strap. It came out how we said it would. It was a very close, hard-fought match where Robert Easter Jr. got the split decision. He also got booed after the fight because a lot of people thought that Javier Fortuna might have pulled it out, and which is interesting because the fight was in Brooklyn?
Yes.
Which I would expect a lot of people to come from. He's from Cleveland, Cincinnati.
I think he's from Cincinnati. He's close to where Brona is. So yeah. Cincinnati.
Well, from Ohio, and which I would have expected him to have a larger following. But it's just an interesting fight because over the last few fights, I don't know if the fights have gotten more difficult for Easter, or he's kind of reached his peak in his skill development and ability. At this point, he should be getting smarter at the fight or in the fight game to not constantly have these close matches, split decision, barely a unanimous decision, questionable scorecards. So it's a little bit interesting, but I meant he got the W. We just don't know where he goes from here.
Yeah, and as far as the fight itself, like we said, Fortuna was landing the more judge-friendly punches. He was catching Easter coming in. He would catch him between a lot of shots because Easter was very busy, but it looks like the judges preferred his work rate and pressure over Fortuna's ability to catch him and time him in those volleys. So, like we always tell you, it is a subjective thing, and the judges preferred that. So that's why he got that victory. Now, I'm not sure where Easter goes after this. We got Linares, who's fighting this Saturday. You've got Mikey Garcia, even though he's fighting at 140, he wants to campaign at 135. You got a few of the European guys that could cross the pond and deliver a challenge. You got some guys, maybe Lomachenko decides he wants to move up. I doubt that comes into fruition because of him being with Top Rank and Easter being with PBC. So that's a promotional hurdle that might not be able to be jumped. So it's too soon to tell where he goes from here. He may even have a rematch with Fortuna because it was a close fight. And depending on who you thought won was your preference on the style of which guy employed. Like I said, Javier Fortuna was very good at being in and out, baiting Easter in, and hitting him with judge-friendly shots. And Easter was very good at keeping Fortuna, I'll say, within his range that he wanted him to be in. Easter likes to work the body a lot. He likes to throw a lot of punches, and he kept Fortuna in that range long enough for him to get off 4 to 5 punches at a time. Even though Fortuna would land like 1 or 2 that were more showy, Easter was always constantly pumping activity.
That's right. So
that's it for that one. Let's move on to the highlight of the night, in which Errol Spence defended the IBF 147-pound title against Lamont Peterson. And now Peterson is a guy who was a champ in 2 divisions, 140 and 147. Gave up his portion of the WBA title because y'all know how they do. But in order to make this fight, he gave that belt up. It was a big opportunity for him. And Spence once again showed that he is the truth. And he also could have took Adrian Broner's nickname because this guy's a problem for the top welterweights. Before I get into what I got, what you got, Rob?
Yeah, it's we expected this to be fairly competitive, maybe after the third round. What happened was Peterson started out a little bit faster than he has had in previous fights, probably realizing that someone like Spence goes at one speed. He trains at the speed that he fights, so which means he can have a sustained attack over the course of 12 rounds. So you can't let him start getting off early because that's just accumulated damage that you don't have to take. Started boxing well. He would counter Spence on several occasions. I thought his footwork, while good, he could have did himself a few favors in fighting that southpaw by doing a better job of getting his lead foot on the outside. I did notice that it wasn't as consistent because we know that Peterson is someone he likes to walk down his opponents. We did see some good body work from both guys, especially Peterson. The difference was Spence, being fresher, being younger, could definitely take those punches. Usually, we were talking about this earlier, Peterson hits those guys with that many body shots, the work rate goes down, legs get tired, and they get put up against the ropes. But with Spence, he was able to weather that storm and return and pump that jab. Having that high guard style, you can negate that activity. Well, you can negate his activity with your own activity. That means throwing 2 to 3 jabs at a time, then following up with a right as soon as they open up, or just opening up on your own and just making sure that he feels your shots was exactly what Spence was doing. And then he would slip an uppercut in there every now and again.
Yeah, the uppercut was working like gold. And that one thing that I wanted to point out that you said, he never stopped using his jab. At no point in this fight did Errol Spence abandon the jab. He kept that right hand pumping in Peterson's face the entire time. And for somebody who a lot of people claim has a lot of defensive holes, he didn't present a lot of openings for Peterson. Peterson gave Spence a lot of different defensive looks. He had a lot of head movement. He was changing angles. He was moving his torso. He was putting his hands in different places, even though he was primarily using the high guard in the turtle shell where he bend over like that. With all those looks, Spence stuck to the game plan and just kept working his jab and working his shots off of that jab. And in the instances that Peterson did counter him, he landed a very good shot that Spence was just walking through. And that's big right there. So we know this guy has a chin. He just took some good shots from Kell Brook. He's taking some good shots from Lamont Peterson. So now he's got maybe like 2 or 3 more top welterweights to go, and he is the official man in the division. Based on the eyeball test, I would favor him against everybody. But he still has to go in there and show and prove like he did Saturday night.
And the good thing about that is, one of them is Thurman, who is on the PBC, and the other one is
you got Garcia. You got
who has the belt?
Thurman has 2.
He has 2.
He's got WBA and WBC.
Horn has the WBO,
and then Spence has the IBF.
So we know that one of these guys are under the PBC banner, which that means that fight can be made whenever they decide to make it. God knows when they decide to make it.
Yeah, Thurman is talking about 2019, which is ridiculous. Get your shit together, Thurman. Come on, man.
And we know Horn has a date with Terrence Crawford,
which is a damn good fight.
So, and we would definitely be tuning in for that. Depending on how Terrence Crawford looks, I would love to see him and Spence more than I would love to see Spence and Thurman.
I want to see.
I want to see both of them.
Yeah.
But something about that Spence-Thurman fight, because they kind of jawed each other, and that's the one that everyone's talking about. Especially because each guy is active.
Right. And because Thurman has been at the top of the division for a while and Crawford just got there, I kind of want him to get in and establish himself before he goes right at everybody. So maybe like 1 to 2 fights before he goes to try to take those guys on. Maybe he fights Horn, then maybe like a Danny Garcia,
right?
Then the Spence Thurman winner. I think that would also give him time to grow into the division.
Depends on who they have on the top rank. Again, it'll be interesting because these guys do have plenty of opponents that they can choose from under the PBC banner and the top ranked banner.
Yeah. And
that's kind of one of those fights that you want to see build, like we saw with Canelo Golovkin, like we saw with Joshua and Klitschko, like we saw with who else am I missing? Ward and Kovalev. Yeah. So this is kind of one of those fights that was kind of like, this is going to be a damn good fight, and it's going to be a damn good fight when it happens.
Yeah. I do want to go back into like the fight more with Spence-Peterson. The stoppage, like you could see it as it was happening. Like you could see how Barry Hunter was talking to Lamont and how he was responding as well. And I'm be honest, like having that kind of relationship with your fighter, like it was heartbreaking to experience that. Like you could tell like he truly cared for Lamont Peterson's well-being. There's a lot of people who say that they care for somebody's well-being, but like the exchange, you knew that there was more than a trainer-fighter relationship going on there, and you gotta give them their props for that as well. And Derrick James and Errol Spence have the same thing. It's not as deep because there's a different type of bond there between Peterson and Hunter because of their background, and we all know that background. So I'm not going to go into it that much, but you could tell that love was there, and the love that they shared between camps as well. That was something to be highly respected as well. Like these guys came up together in the amateurs. Hunter and James know each other very well because they pumped out a lot of good amateurs. It's not just the Charlos and the Spences or the Petersons, but they have a flourishing amateur system in their gyms that they've taken their kids all over the country, and they're very familiar with each other. And you could tell that from their interactions in the ring, and I thought that was excellent, and I truly appreciated that being on the coaching side. So I just wanted to shout both of them out because that was amazing. Both guys gave excellent advice, what was needed to be heard at the time, and their charges went out there. Spence was able to execute to perfection. Peterson tried his best to do what he could, but the game plan of Spence, the skill of Spence, and the size of Spence was just too much for him to overcome. And Hunter, seeing that, said, "Hey, let's save this for another day," because, like he said, he don't give a damn about boxing. He wants him to be healthy and happy, and you just gotta take your hat off to that. So that's it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Leave your thoughts down below. You can hit us up on any of our social networks. Those links are down below as well. Hit the subscribe button over there in the corner. You get all of our videos. And we will see you in the next one, where we're going to be talking about the Lucas Matisse fight and the Jorge Linares fight that's happening this Saturday on HBO. So until then, fight on.
This is round one, and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming and cost. My fists are on fire. I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage. Keep thinking that it's a game. I kick rhyme, hurricane. I told them I don't play. I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighter.